everybody, Coach Brandon here with Coach Graydon. We're going to go through some front headlock stuff today. So this week, we're in one of those, a weird week or an open week. So we're not quite in the half guard chapter, we finished that, but we don't start close guard until next week. So this 1 week, I'm just throwing out some different odds and ends for you guys. And because we have a number of students who are competing at the end of the month, we are going to be doing some takedown stuff. Specifically, since it's no-gi, we're going to look at some snapdowns and front headlocks that could lead into either go-behinds for a takedown or guillotine submissions, okay? First, I'm going to run you guys through how to control a front headlock, and then we're going to run into how to actually get into a front headlock. So let's look at the control first. Grab it here on this side. So from a front headlock, there are 3 points of control. I want a good chin strap here, that's 1. I want good shoulder position here, that's 2. And I want to control the elbow from either outside or inside, that's 3. So our 3 points of control. Back, make sure I can see make sure people can see the jaw. With the chin strap, I used to grab my palm at the point of the chin, thinking that was good leverage. It gives me the end of the lever of the jaw. It's not bad thinking. But now, I've been going into a much more secure grip lately that I've really been liking. I take a wrist deep grip. Notice my wrist is bent, my fingers are bent, and we have kind of this hook. And I hook his jaw right in there. So I'm grabbing the base of the jawbone right here where it meets the neck. My wrist comes up and hits that, and I take my 4 fingers on the side of the head here. My right elbow pulls back to my body, so I can start to pull everything forward. The second point of control is my shoulder here at the base of the neck. Here. I'll usually come up off my knee, putting all my weight down on the shoulder and neck there. When I combine a good chin strap with good shoulder position, it gives me good control of grading from backing away from me and coming toward me. If I have this good chin strap here and I wedge the head with my shoulder, when Graydon tries to pull away from me, the chin strap holds him in place, stops him from going away. Good shoulder position here in front of his shoulders here will stop him from coming into me. If Graydon tries to drive into me, good shoulder position keeps him out. Let's contrast this with bad shoulder position. So often, I'll see people put shoulders here, in the middle of the back. Now when Graydon drives into me, he can drive underneath of my shoulder, he can get into my legs, and he can start taking me down from here. So we want to be very careful to use good shoulder position to stop him from being able to come in, and a good solid chin strap to stop him from being able to move away. Lastly, my elbow, or his elbow position. I can either control the elbow from the outside, once again using a wrist deep grip, hooking around the back of the elbow, or from the inside, once again wrist deep. Now from here, to convey strength and power in my front headlock, I'm going to take both my elbows, and I'm going to draw both elbows back to my hips. Here. If Graydon were to go to try to drive in or pull away, the front headlock stops it. The only thing he can really do is circle. And if he circles, I'm going to circle with him. I'm going to stay right in front of him. Okay? And that's going to be how we control a front headlock. From there, we have a couple different options. We can either look for submissions. Come here, real quick. I can either look to go into submissions from this position, getting a high wrist position, going into a guillotine, or I can look to go around Graydon, getting behind him, and now I can look to start attacking the back from here. So those are some of the basic ins and outs of the front headlock position. Next, I want to teach you guys how to get into a front headlock. We're going to cover some of the basic front headlock entries from the standing position. We're going to look at proactive entries. There are reactive entries as well, where my opponent shoots in on my legs, I sprawl, getting away from the shot, and I can go into front headlock. That's a reactive entry where I'm reacting to what my opponent is doing. But today we're going to focus on proactive entries, where I take it upon myself to bring my opponent's head, the crown of the head, lower than my armpit. If I can take my opponent's head and get it lower than my armpit, I can almost always go into a front headlock. So let's take a look at some of these entries. So initially, when I'm ready to square up and engage with Graydon here, I'm going to take inside position on the arms here. When I take inside position, and Graydon goes to grab onto me, like a head or collar tie or something, I can keep his arms off me. He goes to like grab my shoulder or my head with the other arm. Inside position keeps him off. So I get inside position, and then we're going to use push-pull to set up our front headlock. This way, so I take inside position as he reaches for me, I get here. I'm going to use thumb posts on the arm. I'm just going to drive into Graydon. Now, I'm going to wait for Graydon to drive back into me. When I feel this, I'm going to go from pushing grips to pulling grips, where I reach wrist deep around the neck and around the shoulder here, going into the armpit. So I push, he pushes back. Now I go to my pulling grips, and I snap his hands to the floor using my whole body. Notice I did not snap his hands to the floor using just my arms. It's not going to be a very strong snap. Rather, I'm going to inside position, push into Graydon, wait for him to push back. Once I feel that, I take my pulling grips, and everything goes down to the mat. Once I get his hands to the mat, we go into our 3 points of control for a good front headlock. Very, very important that we're using push-pull. Let's move on to another scenario. What if I come in, I get a collar tie, and Graydon gets a collar tie on me. Now, when I go to snap Graydon down, his collar tie anchors me to him. I go to bring his head lower than my shoulder, and his hand pulls me down with him. Our heads stay at the same height. So I never want to try to snap down using the collar tie when he has a collar tie on me. We've got to deal with this arm. So from this collar tie, I'm going to take inside position on the elbow, and I'm going to take an inside bicep tie. Now, holding the inside bicep tie, keeping it where it is, I'm going to circle away from this collar tie. When I circle away, I can bring the collar tie off. Now I can snap him down into a good front headlock right here. In this instance, we're using a cross snap, where my right hand snaps into a left-handed front headlock. Using a good chin strap grip here, we catch the head like a football, where both hands are engaged on his head for a moment, and then I take my left hand front headlock. Now from here, I'm going to go into a circular sprawl, where I step around, going circling away from the head, and I sprawl on my left leg. Now I've broken down, and we're ready to go to work from this position. So if your opponent has a collar tie on you, you want to get rid of it. One good way is an inside bicep tie and circle away from the collar tie. So what else can we do? Another good way that we can deal with the collar tie. I'm here, I take my own collar tie. Maybe his elbow's pinched so tight, I can't get inside. I can't get a good bicep tie. From here, I'm going to drape my arm, wrist deep, over his forearm here, right near the elbow. When I do this, I'm going to switch my stance here. This will allow me to put more weight on his collar tie. Typically, when we work with a collar tie, if I have a right-handed collar tie, I have a right leg lead and I put weight on the collar tie. When he has a collar tie on me and I want to deal with this, I take wrist deep over his forearm and I switch my stance, putting weight here. Now again, I begin to push into Graydon, waiting for him to push back into me. Once he pushes back into me, I'm going to turn my body to the right, and now 90% of my snap power is done on the arm. I tear that arm off, bring his head lower than my armpit, and we establish our front headlock position. I'll show that one more time. I try to come in, I'm here, he pummels inside, taking a collar tie on me. I want to get inside the elbow, but he's pinched in too tight. So I come over the top. Now I switch my stance so I can put more weight on the arm. I begin to push into him. Now everything rotates and turns out to my right hand side. And as I do that, this arm snaps down to the floor. 90% of the power of the snap down is on this arm. So we're here, I drive in, he pushes back into me, and we snap him down, ready to go into our front headlock. That's good for now, great. Okay, so I don't have like a fully fleshed out plan of where everything's gonna go this week. So this is kind of again, this is one of those open weeks or odd weeks between curriculums. So I'm just going to give you guys that to work with this week from home with your training partners, either whether you're taking classes and you just want some supplementary videos, or maybe you haven't been taking classes but you're working with a training partner on your own. Hopefully these will be a good few techniques you guys can start working on to start working the snap downs. The snap down to a front headlock is one of my favorite ways to go into takedowns in no-gi grappling. In gi grappling, or I'm sorry, in any grappling really, gi or no gi, doesn't matter. If I shoot in straight into my opponent, I'll oftentimes get sprawled on. And I don't like that. I don't like having to fight underneath my opponent's body weight. I think it's a lot easier, safer, and less risky to try to bring my opponent's head down lower than my armpit, go into a front headlock, and then work from there. There are other takedowns that I'll use, single legs for instance, but anytime I do hit a single leg, I usually go off to the side. Actually, I'm going to give you one more thing before you get out of here, because this is important. Stand up. So, if I'm going to go, let's say we're grappling here, and I want to go into a single leg, I might pass Braden's arm by, get an angle here, and go into a single leg from the side. Because now if Braden sprawls, I'm not underneath his body weight. If he sprawls, he has to square back up to me. Let's have you switch your stance so I can talk to the camera. I bring the arm across, and I take my single leg from the side. So if Braden wants to effectively sprawl me, he's going to have to square his body up. So he puts an extra step for him. Let's contrast this with a situation where maybe we're squared and I try to go straight in, where now he sprawls immediately, and I'm underneath all of his body weight. Not only did I not get a takedown, but now I'm going to be stuck in a front headlock. So anytime I shoot a single leg, I typically like to do it from angles. And the reason I'm going on and on about single legs here is because the single leg, or any sort of shooting really, single leg, double leg, I like single legs because I can be out to the side. You can't really do that with a double leg. But when your opponent brings their head up, let's say I'm threatening a lot of snap downs, and now he starts to stand a little bit taller because he doesn't want his head to come down. This is a good opportunity now for me to go into the legs, because his legs are so far forward. His legs have to be forward to keep his head up. So if I'm trying to snap and I'm snapping, he's standing up, I'll go into my single leg. Contrast this with maybe, a match where I'm playing a little bit lower, and I'm starting to come in, shooting in, and he's sprawling his leg back, and now I'm shooting in again, trying to go into double legs, and now he's getting nervous about shots. So he starts keeping his feet further back, he starts keeping his hands here in front of his legs, so I can't get into the shots. But now that's a good opportunity for me to come up and go back into snap downs. So if we're heavy on the snap downs, and we make our opponents stand more upright, they offer us the legs. If we start going into the legs a lot, we're touching legs, we're making him block, we're making him down block. Now he's going to be playing a little bit more like this. Now my head is low, it's very easy for him to pull me forward and go into front headlocks. Thank you. So playing the shots, single legs and double legs, off of the snap downs creates an awesome dilemma versus going high and low, right? Attack up high on the body or attack low on the body. They can only really defend one very effectively. They either stand tall to defend the front headlocks, giving you the shots, or they stand low, keeping the legs back and away to defend the shots, but give you the front headlock and the snap downs. So a couple of those concepts again. Inside position allows me to keep their arms off me. Collar ties allow me to off-balance my opponent. I can off-balance them better with push-pull. I push in my opponent, I get them to push back into me, making the snap down easier. If my opponent does get a collar tie on me, this is not the time to work a snap down. Not on the head, not on the collar tie. If my opponent gets a collar tie on me, I have to deal with that collar tie. I can either come inside his arm and strip the collar tie away by circling away from it, or I can look to work my snap downs on that collar tie. There's other things we can do. We're not going to get into them. This isn't going to be a complete instructional in everything and every possible way to get to a collar tie. This is just supposed to be a few key insights to help you guys get started studying that game. Then next week, we're going to come in here and we're going to start our 8-week chapter studying the closed guard, which is where we're going to look at techniques that are going to build upon each other, and then in 8 weeks, we will have a whole closed guard system. All right, so thanks for watching, guys. Thank you, Greg, for helping me shoot the video, and we'll see you guys next time.